Hello everyone, and welcome to my Wrath of the Lich King Classic Marksmanship and Survival Pre-Raid BiS Guide. In this guide, we'll be covering what is absolute BiS for gear, the talent builds and glyphs, good alternatives for each gear slot, differences for certain races, and which faction reputation you should work on first. For pre-raid gear, both marksmen and survival hunters gear up the exact same. However, once you start gearing up in raids, there are going to be slight differences, and we'll be covering that in the Phase 1 BiS videos. The first thing to look at is Emblems of Heroism. There are 4 pieces of gear you will want to obtain before raids unlock, and it is possible to get all 4 assuming you do all of your heroic lockouts for 5 days in a row. You can get 51 emblems every day, and you will need a total of 205, so I highly recommend you stick to the grind if your schedule allows for it. You will want to prioritize Mirror of Truth, and then the gloves and chest of the Lost Protector, and then finally the Pendant of Outcast Hero. If you can't stick to the grind and your schedule doesn't allow for it, then prioritize Mirror of Truth and then your tier 7 gloves and chest, and you can always just get Pendant of the Outcast Hero later on. Now, starting off with the gear set as a whole, this will assume you have both engineering and jewel crafting as your professions. These will be your best professions for the game, so it is recommended you use them. However, non-profession options will be noted later on in the video. For the helm slot, we have True Sight Ice Blinders, socketed with a Relentless Earth Siege Diamond and Delicate Dragon's Eye. For the neck, we use Pendant of the Outcast Hero. For the shoulders, we use Massive Spalders of the Jormonger. For the cloak, we use Ice Striker's Cloak. For the chest, we use Hero's Cryptstalker's Tunic, socketed with a Delicate Scarlet Ruby and Enchanted Tear. For the bracers, we use Interwoven Scale Bracers. For the gloves, we use Hero's Cryptstalker Handguards, socketed with a Rigid Autumn's Glow. For the belt, we use Sovereign's Belt, socketed with a Delicate Dragon's Eye. For the legs, we use Leggings of the Stone Halls. For the boots, we use Dragon Slayer's Sabatons, socketed with a Delicate Dragon's Eye and a Delicate Scarlet Ruby. For the rings, we use Titanium Impact Band, socketed with a Glinting Monarch Topaz, and Mobius Band as our second ring. For the trinkets, we use Dark Moon-Card Greatness and Mirror of Truth. For the melee weapon, we use Runeblade of the Demonstrable Power. And finally, for our ranged weapon, we use Drake Mounted Crossbow. Let's quickly glance over the talent builds for Marksmanship and Survival now. I won't go into detail of these builds as they will be covered in future videos, but here's a quick look at the builds. You can adjust these builds slightly and move points out of focused aim as necessary if you end up way over hit cap, but generally full pre-raid BiS will land you right around the 8% mark with 3 points in focused aim. Now that we have an idea of the gear set as a whole put together, let's take a look at individual gear slots and some good alternatives that can be used assuming you either don't have the required profession or you play a certain race such as Draenei for the 1% hit. For the helm slot, True Sight Ice Blinders are the clear winner here. Plunderer's Helmet is a great non-engineering alternative, and the only option you should worry about if you do not have engineering. If you have Coif of Valeria from TBC, then continue to use this all the way until you get True Sight Ice Blinders. Coif is still surprisingly good in pre-raid, and the stats are extremely close to Plunderer's Helmet. For the next slot, Pendant of the Outcast Hero is the best option available. Titanium Impact Choker is a very close alternative, however I would not waste your gold on it as you will want to save all of your gold for Dark Moon-Card Greatness, and Titanium Impact Choker is actually a slight DPS loss anyways. Necklace of the Arcane Spheres is a great alternative to be used if it drops before you gather all of your emblems you need for Pendant of the Outcast Hero. For the shoulders, there are 2 good options available, and what pair is better for you will depend on whether you're a Draenei yourself or you have a Draenei available to you in your party. Assuming you do have the 1% hit ratio from Draenei, the best option available is Spalders of the Abomination. For all other hunters without the Draenei ratio available, your best option is going to be Massive Spalders of the Jormonger. For the cloak, there are 2 main options here, and the better option will depend on whether or not you have your 2-piece tier 7 set from the Emblems of Heroism. Assuming you have the 2 Heroes Cryptstalker pieces, you will want to use Ice Striker's Cloak. This is a crafted item, but it should be relatively cheap to craft or purchase from the auction house early on. Now, if you don't have your 2-piece tier 7, then the better option is to use Cloak of the Gushing Wound. Similar to the helmet situation, Cloak of the Unforgivable Sin from Sunwell is still an incredibly good cloak, even in pre-raid at level 80. You can keep using this cloak until you get your 2-piece tier 7 and then just upgrade to Ice Striker's Cloak. For the chest, Hero's Cryptstalker Tunic is the best option. This will take a few days to obtain, assuming you do all your heroic lockouts each day. And if you don't have the time required to do all your heroic lockouts every day, and tier 7 takes too long to obtain, then you can just opt for a polished regimental hauberk. This chest only requires you to be exalted with the Argent Crusade faction, And with the new reputation system, this can be achieved rather quickly with the tabards. Another decent alternative in the meantime is Hauberk of the Arcane Wraith. For the bracers, there are two close options: Interweave Scale Bracers and Dragon Fiend Bracers. Interwoven Scale Bracers are slightly better due to how intellect works with careful aim talent. However, if you're unlucky with these dropping and you hit Exalted with Wormrest Accord first, then just use the Dragon Fiend Bracers. The overall DPS difference between these two is relatively minor, and you really won't notice a DPS difference in game. For the gloves, we use Heroes Cryptstalker handguards. These will be paired with the chest to maintain the 2-piece set bonus, which increases your pet damage by 5%. Similar to the chest, it will take several days of farming heroic lockouts for Emblems of Heroism to be able to purchase these gloves, so continue to try and get hand grips of the Savage Emissary from Heroic Violet Hold in the meantime. For the waist, there are several great options available. However, Sovereign's Belt is the best option overall. The large amount of hit it provides will be crucial in maintaining your hit cap, even with the 3-3 focused aim talent. Barista's Silver Chain Belt and Quarter Swirling Winds are great alternatives, but you'll need to swap some hit gems around to maintain hit cap. Jorok's Crocodile Skin Belt is decent, but you should never waste 60 Emblems of Heroism on this belt ever, as the emblems are much better spent on Mirror of Truth and then your tier tokens. For the legs, there is only really one good option to aim for, and that is the leggings of the Stone Halls. These legs are itemized perfectly and should be easy to obtain. Gourd Hide Laggards can be used in a pinch if you're desperate for hit rating, but you should never take these over another class such as a Rogue who may get more out of them. Giant Maim Laggards are another decent option, however I really wouldn't waste your gold crafting these as they're going to get replaced rather quickly, and all of your gold should be going towards Darkmoon card greatness early on. For the boots, there are a few good options, but Dragonslayer Sabatons are just better overall. Boots of the Neverending Path can be obtained if you are exalted with the Argent Crusade and you need hit rating. However, 66 hit rating is a lot for a single gear slot, and most of it is just going to be wasted and not necessary. Boots of the Twinkling Stars is another decent alternative and requires exalted with the Kirin Tor. Again, these should only really be used if you've been unlucky with Dragonslayer's Sabatons dropping for you, and you can use a minor side grade. For the rings, you have a few good options available to you. Titanium Impact Band and Mobius Band are the clear winners here. Titanium Impact Band will be rather costly early on, but it is worth the investment if you have the gold to spare. Band of the Kirin Tor is actually worse overall in terms of DPS output, and it will cost a whopping 7,000 gold, which is a lot to spend for a ring that isn't even pre-raid BiS, and if you do buy it, it's just going to get replaced in Naxxramas anyways. Therefore, I really cannot recommend spending the gold on this ring. Again, just funnel all of your gold into Darkmoon card if you have the gold to spend. Now for the trinkets, and the expensive part of your gear set. Darkmoon card greatness will be your absolute best option and can last you into Alduar for a decent amount of time. This trinket alone provides nearly 200 DPS over the next best alternative in pre-raid, and it's well worth the investment. It will be rather expensive, however, and most likely in the 50k range for quite some time. However, if you have the gold, then I do recommend buying it. Your second trinket will be Mirror of Truth. This trinket costs only 40 Emblems of Heroism, so you can grab this on the first day you hit 80, assuming you do your heroic lockouts. If you're less fortunate and will never be able to purchase a Darkmoon card greatness, then you can offer Incisor Fragment, Sphere of Red Dragon's Blood, or Meteorite Whetstone. Moving on to the melee weapons now. In Wrath of the Lich King Classic, two-handed weapons will always be your go-to. One-handed weapons no longer provide the same amount of stats and are generally around 80% of the stats a two-hander will provide. Runeblade of the Demonstrable Power is the best melee weapon available and will be incredibly easy for you to get at level 80. You only need to be revered with Knights of the Ebon Blade, and this can be done rather quickly if you run dungeons with a Reputation Tabard on. Don't waste your time farming for any other melee weapons, and don't take Staff of Trickery from any Feral Druids in your dungeon groups if they want and need it, as it is their absolute best in pre-raid. Finally, we have the ranged weapons to look at. Drake Mounted Crossbow is the best option available and one of your biggest immediate upgrades, providing just over 200 DPS gain from Thoridol if you had it while leveling. Testingwary 4000 is not worth the investment even as a dwarf. It will be relatively expensive and is still not a DPS upgrade, so save your gold and instead funnel it into Darkmoon Card, True Sight Ice Blinders, Ice Striker's Cloak, and Titanium Impact Band instead. And for all of you Thoridol wielders, unfortunately it's time to put it away. It was a great quality of life bow to have while leveling, save you some arrows, but it simply doesn't hold up to Drake Mounted Crossbow at all. Now that we have taken a look over the gear itself, let's take a look at what your primary focus should be as soon as you hit level 80. There is a lot to do right away, and you don't want to waste time grinding the wrong reputations for no reward. First and foremost, as mentioned earlier, you should focus on completing all of your heroic lockouts every single day so that you can purchase your 4 Emblem of Heroism items. While farming heroics in dungeons, you'll want to start off by gaining reputations with Knights of the Ebon Blade first. Once you hit revered, you can purchase Runebladed Demonstrable Power, which will be one of your biggest DPS upgrades from your leveling or TBC Classic gear. Afterwards, you should focus on getting Exalted with the Argent Crusade. This will allow you to have the option of purchasing Polished Regimental Hauberk and Boots of Never-Ending Path. While neither of these items are absolute BiS for pre-raid, they are decent alternatives with a lot of hit rating, and if you're unlucky getting absolute BiS or you didn't have time to grind emblems from heroics, these are great options. Since you should be running all your heroics every day, there really is no specific order in which you should obtain the rest of your gear. All of the crafted pieces should be relatively affordable except Darkmoon card greatness. This wraps up the Marksmanship and Survival Hunter pre-raid BiS guide for Wrath of the Lich King Classic. All information in simming has been done using WoW Sims, and the exact settings and talent builds will be shared in the video description below. These gear sets and talent builds have been thoroughly tested and updated multiple times, and will continue to be checked and updated as necessary. If you have any further questions, then by all means comment below. Also feel free to join my Discord linked in the video description and follow me on Twitch. I try to be as active as possible with questions, and I'm always willing to help new people out. Thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for the Marksmanship and Survival Phase 1 Best in Slot guides coming soon. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.